It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across the USA. We are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. All right, we've got the latest update from the National Hurricane Center. Speed has ticked up a little bit.
Yeah, 90 mile an hour now sustained wind. Still a Category 1, Helene, but quickly on the way to becoming a Category 2 hurricane. You have right now in place low wind shear and warm waters that are fueling this hurricane, and the wind shears won't increase, they say, until closer to landfall, which means plenty of time for this hurricane to become a lot more dangerous. And the footprint, pretty unbelievable to look at. You go 355 miles out from the center, and you still have tropical storm force winds. That means a great number of people will be in the path of damaging winds from Hurricane Helene. Then you look at the storm surge. What they're looking at as it makes sure it arrives in Florida, near Tallahassee, somewhere, they believe, 18 to 20 feet storm surge. That is extremely dangerous. Flooding is the most deadly part of any hurricane when you combine the storm surge and the heavy rain. You add the heavy rain from Helene, and they're expecting 8 to 10 inches, even more in some areas. But this is an extremely dangerous hurricane.
You and I were looking at what I was talking about earlier. It was just a little bit of a short clip that somebody posted on X from Ian and Fort Myers. Right. And I'd mentioned it before because there's a video out there that's like 12 hours long that starts before the storm surge started. And then, right through it all. And you and I were looking at it, only about 30 seconds of it. It wasn't even at the max yet. It probably was about 10 to 12 feet at that point. And you're looking at it, and it looked like you were out in the middle of the ocean.
Yeah.
I mean, middle of the ocean in something that was not survivable. And then, as I was telling you, it even got darker afterwards because you watch it beforehand. Like I said, it's a 12-hour video. And you can't believe how fast it went from dry roads to everything covered with water. And then it just kept growing and growing and growing. And then everything got, dark and misty. You couldn't see the rain was falling. And then all of a sudden, when it subsided, all the houses were gone.
Right.
Houses were gone.
Yeah.
You could see these hotels were just absolutely just devastated. Now, that was a Cat 5.
Right. Yeah.
Which is 160. But this is a Cat, is supposed to hit. It isn't yet, but it's supposed to be a Cat 4 is what they're predicting. That's 131 to 150 miles an hour. You cannot survive that. You cannot survive that type of storm surge. You can't.
Structures, trees, power lines, of course. When you look at all of that, water is extremely powerful when it moves. If you have any experience just standing in small waves on the beach, you understand the smallest of waves can knock you off your feet. Now multiply that out and try and imagine a storm surge of 18 to 20 feet and then rainfall on top of that. Again, the most deadly part of any hurricane. And it doesn't take much to float a car. 18 to 20 feet is going to bury structures. And then you combine that with the wind. You have tree roots that are compromised. That brings down power lines. They come crashing down on homes and onto roads. It becomes extremely dangerous, as you mentioned. Winds that high are not survivable. Then you get into talking about a hurricane, which they almost always do, spawning tornadoes. And that's going to be a problem because it becomes unpredictable. They're spawned very quickly, and those become dangerous in and of themselves. You look at also the predicted power outages. You're looking at likely power outages for most of Georgia and even some people in the Carolinas, as again, the damaging winds are going to reach that far. Heavy rainfall on top of that, which will extend into well inland, north of Florida into Georgia and into the Carolinas. And again, it becomes very, very dangerous. But for those that are in the areas where local officials are telling you to evacuate, don't wait. Do not wait. The time was yesterday, but if you haven't done so, get out of the way of this storm. Get out of the way of this storm.
Yep.
And if you are well inland and the areas where they believe power is going to be down, you're going to get heavy rainfall, you're going to get high winds, do everything that you can to prepare because it's unpredictable in terms of how long the power could be out. So you're going to have to prepare for that. It actually wouldn't be a bad idea if you have the ability to go elsewhere and hunker down maybe with family elsewhere if you can do that. And we're talking, again, not people that are there on the shoreline in Florida. We're talking well inland into Georgia. If you have the ability to leave and go somewhere else so that you don't, because here's the problem with the power outages, with high water, it makes it much more dangerous and sometimes impossible for rescue workers to reach people who are having medical emergencies, and that becomes disastrous. This is part of the idea. The main point of evacuations is to get you safe now, but also to not create situations where you're putting other people in danger when they're having to respond because you didn't get out of the way.
You know, it's incredible when you look at this system here. By the way, it's supposed to hit still around 7 p.m. tonight. So it's supposed to make landfall. But when you look at this system, just looking at the radar already and then the future radar, what's in front of this hurricane? Do you see how far? I mean, right now, which is all part of this system moving up, it goes all the way up. It's up to, let me see. Yeah, it's up to Pittsburgh. I mean, the system in front of it, that you can tell it's all a part of looks like part of the same system. They could be two different systems, but they seem like they connect later on in the future radar. But this thing is, how long is that? What was that, 1,500 miles? It's huge. And, the rain's going to be moving through the heavy rain through, and, there are places right now in Florida. I mean, Florida's getting, panhandles. Most of it's getting pounded already with rain, and a ton of rain coming before even the main hurricane hits. And you've got rain right now up through North Carolina, up through West Virginia, all the way up through to Pittsburgh. Huge system.
Yeah.
So it's going to be sad. By the time the hurricane becomes a tropical storm sitting over, parts of Florida and Georgia, and then as it sort of slowly moves to the west, these places, especially Georgia and even parts of Alabama, will have just had tons of rain and going to get tons more.
Well, and another thing, I mentioned that tropical storm force winds, 345 miles out from the center, but hurricane force winds as far as 60 miles from the center.
Yeah.
So, again, very damaging winds, tons of flooding here, and it will leave behind a lot of damage to clean up, not just in Florida, but in in Georgia, in the Carolinas, quite possibly. It is going to be Helene is going to be one of those hurricanes that people look back on and makes the history books.
And as I'm looking right now, this is the future radar, but you can see by the time we even get to 8, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock this morning, you can see the eye becoming much more well-defined. Mm-hmm. And so expect this to just drastically increase this hurricane in power.
Right.
And so 90 miles an hour now, was it
90 miles an hour right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not going to take it long to get to
no.
Well, I mean, we're looking at it right now, so we're what about it would be 5 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
7 o'clock Eastern it's supposed to hit. So it's past 5 o'clock now, so 14 hours. And that thing's it's moving at 12 miles an hour, which is quite fast. Was at 9 and up to 12 going north. Mm-hmm. But man, what a system that is. Unbelievably powerful and destructive. So, yeah. We'll keep you updated.
For sure. Definitely watching this and again, everybody that's in the path of Helene, pay attention to local officials and follow their guidelines.
866-90-RED-EYE.
This morning's USDA Farm Report is brought to you by House Products. Tested, trusted, guaranteed since 1920.
U.S. food shoppers are finding grocery store food prices mostly higher than last year, but not by very much. USDA economist Megan Schweitzer is forecasting food prices at the grocery store this year to average only 1.1% higher than a year ago.
That's quite a bit lower than how prices have changed over the last few years. They rose by 5% in 2023 and 11.4% in 2022. And that's also lower than the long-term average of food-at-home price changes. Over the past 20 years, food-at-home prices have averaged 2.7% growth per year, compared to that 1.1% growth we're forecasting.
So some very low food price inflation for 2024.
And we largely expect to see that trend continue into 2025.
With food prices possibly dropping below 1%, maybe even dropping down below 2024's average. Gary Crawford reporting for the U.S. Department of Agriculture.
This report brought to you by Cenex Fuels and Lubes.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Just real briefly about Hurricane Helene. I'd seen earlier on there was a 1 o'clock map where it had an arrow pointed, right at the coast that said 7 p.m. I don't know if it's going to hit at 7 p.m. Sometime late afternoon into the evening is when it will make landfall.
In fact, some will start feeling those tropical storm force winds this afternoon after 2 p.m. local, right in that area, according to the forecast now. But which if you think about that, then, I mean, we're talking hours and hours of damaging wind. Then you add to it the storm surge that we mentioned, up to 20 feet in some areas, along with the force of the waves. It's not just the storm surge, but it's the force of the waves. It's pretty mind-boggling to think about how damaging this storm is and how dangerous this storm is and is going to become. It will be over water in the Gulf, which is warm water, low wind shear right now, which means that's favorable for a stronger hurricane. It's going to give it that energy, with all these conditions in place, that energy to become, quite possibly, they believe, a Category 4 hurricane.
And we will keep you updated.
Yeah.
All right. Mayor Adams in New York has been indicted by a federal grand jury. Sources are saying it is campaign violation. Here is the mayor before it came out, before the indictments actually were announced through sources, apparently. Here we go.
My fellow New Yorkers, it is now my belief that the federal government intends to charge me with crimes. If so, these charges will be entirely false, based on lies. But they would not be surprising. I always knew that if I stood my ground for all of you, that I would be a target. And a target I became. For months, leaks and rumors have been aimed at me in an attempt to undermine my credibility and paint me as guilty. Just this past week, they searched the home of our new police commissioner, looking for documents from 20 years ago, just 1 week after he joined my administration. Enough. I will fight these injustices with every ounce of my strength and my spirit. If I'm charged, I know I am innocent.
Mayor Adams yesterday. Now, he is giving the impression that this is retaliation for his stand on migrants, because there's no other reason he would be a target.
Right. No, it's about him complaining.
Yeah.
And when it happened, remember the response from the Biden White House. It was like, yeah, we're not even going to have a meeting with you. No, sorry. They sent someone else to New York eventually. But, nah, we're not going to do this. And then Mayor Adams comes out and asks a judge to undo the sanctuary city policy that Mayor Adams' own party put into place. And we laughed at that move, going, what are you doing? But if you're a nuisance to the Democrats, it doesn't matter who you are. They're gonna find a way to come at you. We'll see what the charges are, and what this actually looks like. As you mentioned, the legal experts will tear this down and tell us what's what, and if this was something they would normally pursue, or if it looks like they're going after him politically.
Yeah, we'll know we should know whether they're legit pretty soon.
Right.
Once the feds come out and say, here's what we're charging him with.
But I felt early on, within the first year of him being mayor, he wouldn't be mayor for long. He wouldn't have a second term, because even if this goes away, they just want to, at the very least, make sure he's not going to be mayor for long in New York City. I have no doubt Democrats don't want him to be mayor any longer. They have no use for him. So that was clear pretty early on to me. And we'll see where the charges go, but I think it's really just, if nothing else, it's the message, hey, time to give it up. We don't have room for you in our party.
Yeah, I don't know if that's the case or not. We'll see. I know there are people that
think
that.
I know in my heart of hearts, the party believes that.
Yes, I agree with you. The party, but I don't think he's viewed as the citizens as a well-performing mayor either, because he's all over the place.
Well, because think about this. You've got the migrant crisis there that he can't solve, that his own party created.
Yeah.
You're not going to be popular. Doesn't matter what you do, you're not going to be able to fix it. And he won't have a second term. I'm convinced he won't have a second term as mayor. I don't know who you bring in.
It's the same thing with Johnson in Chicago.
Right.
People are furious at him, but it's a problem that his own party at the federal level created for him.
Yeah,
that he can't solve.
His predecessor, Lightfoot, she had some harsh words from fellow Democrats.
Links to everything Red Eye on the website redeyeradioshow.com.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Download our Red Eye Radio app today. Listen when and where you choose.
Mm-hmm.
So, this is the problem that the Harris campaign has. This is Jennifer Granholm on the wall and more. All right, listen how she answers this.
But Harris previously called Donald Trump's wall project a complete waste of taxpayer money that won't make us any safer. Where does she stand on the wall?
She wants to make sure that the border is secure, and there are lots of measures to be able to do that, and the funding is necessary to make that happen, whether it's using technology. There may be provisions where she needs, but his version of the wall was ridiculous. She wants to do it in a way that actually has impact and actually slows illegal immigration while making sure it's done in a sensitive way. So, the bottom line is he is utterly hypocritical about it, and she will definitely point that out.
What?
How?
What?
My question, how, and how?
Wow.
Look, if Trump can win this, and I sense things are going, as we said yesterday or 2 days ago, we sense things are going in his direction. And that's because, too, not only the latest polls and the most accurate polls in 2020, but the fact is she's constantly on the defensive all the time.
Yeah.
And that's what you want. And we've explained in a campaign, you always want, the other side on the defensive. You don't want to give them anything, which was why when the whole eating cats and dogs came up, we just said you didn't need to go there.
Right, yeah.
Surrogates could do that. And you could say,
let social media do that for you.
Let social media take care of that for you, because you became the talk for a day where people, they didn't know. They're going back and forth. And I know, Vance come out and said, and it's true. People have come out and said, no, we've witnessed it. But the fact is, you didn't need a debate on that issue. You've got enough that's 100% slam dunk. 100% slam dunk.
Yeah.
So you don't ever want to catch yourself, even on something. Now, it didn't work for the Democrats. We're just giving that as an example of you always want the other side on the defensive.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
Yeah.
That's all you want. That's your job. Always have them, and that's what you have right now. And it's to the point now with her, because there is no savior coming in for the Democrats now. That's it. There's no savior. Unless she says, look, I'm out, Biden's back. Wouldn't that be interesting? She goes, I'm dropping out, Biden's back in.
Well, yeah, right. No, I mean,
could they do that? Is that possible?
Why not? Why not? Why not? Tag team it. It's, I think, because we brought that up, actually, I don't know, it was after the convention. It was like, it sounds like they're really regretting pushing him out, because they're looking at it going, oh, man, even he was better than she is. But you're at a point now, that's so ridiculous. Her wall will be a better wall.
I know.
She'll have a better wall.
Are we going to build walls out of composite materials now?
She's also not going to make Mexico pay for it. I was waiting for that. Because that would be wrong.
It's a lighter, more flexible wall.
Yes.
And we're going to build a more humane wall.
This is a more considerate wall.
What's a humane wall?
This is a wall built with love.
What's a humane wall? You've got nice pictures, murals on it and stuff.
Right.
I mean, what's a
right?
Build a more humane wall.
It's going to be a wall that sends the message that it's not that we don't want you in, we just want you out.
We'll have a wall built by DEI.
Yes. It'll be a wall of the people.
We plan on building a diversity wall along the border.
The people's wall. It's what we call it.
Our wall will be built by women and minorities.
Yes, that's right.
Contractors only.
Right.
And all union.
Yes. They're paid a fair wage.
Paid a fair wage.
Built with materials that are fair trade materials.
No. Fair trade and
sustainable.
Sustainable.
Sustainable fair trade. It's writing itself. It's writing itself.
Sustainable wall.
Yes. Biodegradable, sustainable fair trade material wall is what we are going to have.
No animals will be harmed in building the wall.
It will not leave a footprint. And when the oceans rise, we know that there will be no plastic used in the building of the wall. So it won't be at the bottom of the ocean one day filled with plastic.
Oh, my gosh. God.
Oh, my gosh. It's a caring wall.
Let's go to Bill in San Antonio. Bill, welcome. You're on Red Eye Radio. Welcome to the show. Hi.
Hey, good morning, guys.
Hey.
I was getting ready to add to what you were just saying there. They can use some of those wind turbine blades that they can't figure out where to dispose of them and use that to the wall.
Now we know what to do with them, yeah.
Yeah, now we know what we can do with them.
Yeah, and we can stack up a bunch of old electric cars too. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. No, I think Trump's done real good with having the ads with Kamala's, own verbiage there, because the Democrats can't use that. It's her words. But I think another thing I'd like to see them do is just come out and say, they call Trump a threat to democracy, and of course, whatever they call Trump, they're doing is the opposite. They're doing it.
Yeah.
And he ought to just come up with a list and say, listen, here's the real threat to democracy. It's the Democratic Party, and that's why you all need to vote straight ticket. It's the open borders. That's a threat to our democracy. It's the Democrats' policies, domestic and foreign. That's a threat to democracy. It's the weaponization of the judicial system. That's a threat to our democracy.
Yeah, right.
And it's George Soros funding all the campaigns for all these wacko jobs, judges and DAs. That's a threat to democracy.
I will say this again, that I believe nothing you said is wrong at all. And as somebody who is voting, the number one reason I am voting for Trump is by far the number one reason is the weaponization of the federal government, which has to stop. It may not stop if Trump only serves 4 years. There may not be enough time to root out the rot inside of the government, but at least it stalls it for 4 years. But that's why I'm voting. But I look at this and say, who are you trying to convince now? You're trying to convince the rare undecideds. They're not concerned. They're not concerned about that topic. Because otherwise they'd be like me. They would have already been aboard. You'd be horrified. You'd be horrified by that. And so I think they're looking at it. This is what I'm guessing they're doing. They're looking at it. They're saying it's what is in people's personal self-interest that they feel right now. That is still, even though the weaponization of government is reality, whether democracy is going to end tomorrow or not, or next month, or whether the election is over, is still a hypothetical where they have reality hitting them on inflation and the border. And you can use all those things. And Trump did that yesterday when he talked about the fact of how insane is it that the president of Iran is in here being protected by the United States and Iran's trying to kill him. How the hell is that happening? How do we allow that to happen? Mm-hmm. But what people really care about is in their economic self-interest. And both, I think the people that are undecided, their economic self-interest, which is why I think it's moving more towards Trump. And what you want to do is win and then continue to explain the problem of, who's a threat to democracy. Plus, remember, in every major poll I've seen, Trump is winning on who would more protect democracy. Trump actually wins that.
Yeah.
So you've got that. It's down on the list. And so what I think you've got to hit, not that you don't bring it up, and not that they don't bring it up in their campaign speeches because they're doing it. I don't know how much.
Yeah, just shut them up.
Yeah, I don't know how much you spend on political ads. I guess that would be the question. But I don't know how much they have spent on ads like that. I don't know. Every ad I've seen.
Yeah, we don't see them here in Texas.
Yeah. Every single ad I've seen, except the one that we played today, is Trump or is her in her own words, which is. And by the way, it's more than just the economy. The one ad we, the not the one ad we play today, but there are other ads that talk about other positions she has taken.
Right.
That just aren't. There'll be a collage of different of her speaking about different things on a variety of different topics.
Right.
But those are so effective, Bill, which is why I think they're running them for the people that are undecided right now.
Yep.
But I sort of think, and thanks so much for your call.
Thanks, Bill.
We said this Monday. I sort of think it's all done, unless something comes up, a true October surprise, and I don't know what that is. I agree with Scott Jennings that said you can't move the support for Trump.
No,
And
you're not going to move that.
And Trump, and this is another thing, too, that people don't think of. This is the most popular Trump has ever been.
Yeah.
In the polling.
Yep.
He's never been more popular.
Well, and that has to worry the Democrats. You combine that with voter apathy on their side, and it looks catastrophic. I don't know that it will be, but it has the makings of a very bad election for the Democratic Party. There's nothing that changes her. You don't move Trump's base. There's nothing that changes it for her. Because, in fact, I think really the only undecideds out there really is about whether or not they're going to go and vote for her, because the motivation is gone to a large extent, not completely, to a large extent, to vote for her in order to vote against Trump. That motive is diminished greatly. It still exists. It's diminished greatly. There is no energy to vote for her, and that's a problem.
You and I have done this such a long time and observed elections, and we do believe that we could be political consultants, that we could tell them this is what you need to do. And so I can take out my personal political biases, all my biases I can take out and say, all right, what should Harris do in an attempt to win? And right now, if I'm a political consultant, I can't tell you what that is. I will say this, and if you've been a long-time listener to the show, you know that we're never at a loss for words for either party to go, what are you doing? You should do this. I don't know. I could not tell you if they're paying me $1 million, if they said, here's $1 million, tell us what to do, I wouldn't have an answer.
No.
Because I don't know how, if everything is moving in Trump's direction as it seems to be, I don't know how she saves herself. I don't know how she reverses herself. We played the audio of her former communications director who said, no, nothing she did yesterday moved the needle at all. She's got to do something refreshing and new. What?
There is nothing.
What? Well,
there is nothing.
And she didn't explain what that is. They say these things, but they don't say what. You've got to say what. You just can't say, well, she's got to come up with something refreshing and new. What? A new diet, non-caffeine, low-carb soft drink? I mean,
I don't know what you do now.
I don't. That's why Monday we said, I think this is over.
Yeah. I think it is.
866-90-RED-EYE.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Is Biden continuing his tour today?
I'm guessing
his tour to destroy
We're going to hear more
his
from him.
destruction of Kamala tour. I just wonder if you're going to have Democrats speak up against what he's doing. Can they do that right now? Because on The View, they were cheering him for destroying Kamala.
But they know it's not a good look.
I know.
They want her to separate herself from him.
And he won't.
And we've
let
said
her.
there's no way to do that. You can't do that. But they're saying she needs to do that. Hell, Joe Biden steps in. Nah, come on over here. Let me give you a hug, kiddo.
Not only did she agree with me, she ran everything.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
God.
Right.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.